Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to Canadian Football Central, CFL content for the fans, by the fans. Stuart Johnston had a presser earlier today. There was a lot to talk about. They didn't get through absolutely everything, as it sounded like some stuff from the meetings they had not finished talking about. For example, the player, making player salaries public. I was kind of hoping for them to have information on that today. Personally, I was the most interested on that. But
there was one topic that they did not discuss that I'm shocked that they didn't.
And which one was that?
Website and app.
I was about to say I was like, when are we getting this app? I want the app back. That's what I want. And the website,
I mean, I'm sure they still have time.
Well, to be fair, the website, there have been a couple improvements to it, but it's mostly the same thing. But then there's also still players that are like 1 fucking year old. Please update their pages.
Or no way.
If you're wondering what I mean by that, you can check my post in the CFL chatter group on the Facebook, as well as our tweets from the CF Central account on X or Twitter. Link to the account in the description below. But the interesting thing here is that there was a lot that was discussed with this, and the media had a chance to ask some questions. And so I want to kind of go through this one by one. Rick, we made a Word doc. We're gonna go through this. And so firstly, for starters, the last 3 minutes you say the half, but it's of the game, but it's actually the half because this applies to the second quarter and the fourth quarter. The last 3 minutes of the game will remain
the 20-second clock.
The 20-second referee blown-in play clock. So for those wondering, there's going to be instituted next season, there's going to be an automatic play clock. This is similar to the way the NFL operates. However, in the NFL is a 40-second play clock. In the CFL, it will be 35 seconds, so a little bit less, which means that when one play ends, that clock starts immediately. There's no referee blowing it in. You have to be kind of disciplined in that regard. If you're choosing to challenge a play, you cannot sit back. You have to basically make up your damn mind and either challenge or not. And in regards to that, they also, with their challenges, they want to try to cut down on the challenges a little bit in terms of the amount of time it takes to do these reviews. They like that their games are under 3 hours. They want to keep that. But in the last 3 minutes of the half, as well as the end of the game, they will go back to the traditional play clock in the CFL, which is a 20-second play clock that is blown in by the officials. The reason for this is because the CFL has one big motto. It is called "No lead is safe." And with this, it creates, in my opinion, some of the most exciting aspects of Canadian football. I am very happy to hear that they are going to be keeping that for the last 3 minutes.
Not only that, but I mean, if you're a team that's under a minute, you can't just take 3 knees and call it a game.
And that's the other problem that I had with it, was not in the sense of, again, I understand people saying that the other one creates this rush, this hustle. But the problem I have with the NFL play clock is that you can have over a minute left on the clock and you can just kill the game. You can just end the game. And so in the CFL, that's not going to work. And I like that that's the case. I like that we have a league where no lead is safe. One person I can tell you right now that I know is not pleased about this is Luke Wilson, as he made it very well known today on his Twitter. As he had said, this is from Luke Wilson. I'm quoting him here. Okay.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Wow, this is well said. It's a massive failure by the commissioner and the board of governors. I'm sure they were pressured by a few boomer coaches who were trying to protect themselves because their ball knowledge is subpar. Keeping the status quo encourages checkdowns, will protect some of the frauds masquerading the CFL as coaches. It's tough to coach 2-minute strategy, details, and execution needs to be precise. To which I will have you know, I commented, just for our understanding, which boomer coaches are you referring to? He has not yet responded. I would love to know if he would publicly actually say the names of who he has an issue with.
I have a question for you. So are you is he referencing that it should be 35 seconds the whole
He,
game?
yep, he is saying that there should not be an exception at the 3 minute warning, and it should just run straight through. What did you say? Sorry. Uh,
No,
it,
no, I was just asking. I was just trying to get clarification.
yep, no, that's what he meant. He is not happy that they're
Okay.
keeping the status quo for the last 3 minutes. To which case,
Okay.
actually, it's funny. I actually, so for those who are not aware, I'm someone who, when it comes to these rule changes, are actually a lot more favorable on them than a lot of people. I'm not saying I agree with all of them. I
Mhm.
don't. But that I'm a lot more warm to the idea than most people are. If you look on CFL in a lot of areas on Twitter, Instagram, their comment sections are just getting trashed about how there's no 55-yard line, all that sort of stuff coming in next year. A lot of people just hate a lot of these changes. I'm a little bit more warm on the idea. Even me, though, you got to keep those last 3 minutes. Those last 3 minutes are just fantastic. I'm glad to see that they did kind of go through this with a fine tooth comb and realize that by removing that, they really would be removing something really special, really good about Canadian football. Glad to see that that is staying. As mentioned before, the on-field officials will rely less on the replay center with the continuous clock. If it is not clear and obvious, there should be no injection from the replay center. So essentially, the replay center, unless they have a verdict in like really damn quick, there should be no injection. Now, keep in mind that's with the continuous clock. I imagine they will still kind of inject a little bit more, even if they're not 100% sure when it comes to the last 3 minutes, because they'll be on that normal play clock. That is an assumption I'm making based on the way they've worded it. I want to make sure that's clear. The interesting thing here, overtime is getting changed a little bit. Now, thankfully, so firstly, in overtime, they do little mini games, which firstly, I hate the term mini games. I hate it. It doesn't sound like a professional sports league. It sounds like fucking Mario Party. Like it's hard to take that seriously. But what it is essentially in the CFL, as you'll know, each team gets turns going through possessions. You got to go for a 2 point conversion, whole 9 yards. It's just great. However, in the CFL, after two full attempts, if the score is this, if they're still tied, they would get a tie. Now, this has happened only like twice in the past 3 years or whatever. And even if you look in the past 10 or 15 years, it's only happened like 4 times. Like this is incredibly rare already. Ties are no longer going to be even possible because after the two full mini games, they call them, I would just call them OT possessions, to be honest. They will take turns running 2 point conversions, sudden death from the 3 yard line until there's a winner. So, firstly, I want to say I hate ties in sports. I am a fan that they're not doing ties. I'm iffy about the solution. To be honest, I would have just done continuous overtime possessions, like the mini games, whatever. I would have just done more of that. But I guess at that point, if they really want to get that game done, I guess they feel that this is a little bit quicker. But the constant swapping offense and defense, actually, this is something, Rick, that Connor was talking about, and I agree with him on this. Seems a little bit like you might waste a lot of time guys running on and off the field. But it is what it is. So in general, I'm glad that ties are gone, though. Is there anything to comment on that, or shall we continue, Rick?
We can continue.
Okay. And also just for clarification, Farhan was asking Stuart if there were like after you hit that, if you hit the touchdown, if you go for it again, like if there's a kick convert, anything like that, there's no convert because they're literally just running 2 point conversions the whole time. So there's no play after. But when it comes to the Olympics in 2028, the CFL is planning to play through the Olympics. This meaning that any players that are eligible will leave their teams, join whatever Olympic roster that they're on, and the CFL season will continue. So teams will have to kind of move some guys around because a guy like Nathan Rourke probably not going to be around. So BC will have to have another quarterback that will be their starter for the time period and whatnot, and whoever loses, whoever for the Olympics, and then those players will return.
So just for point's sake here. So when it comes to the Olympics, we're looking at 16 days, July 14th to the 20 or July 14th to the 30th. So 16 days really that you're going to be without your player. The interesting thing is, as me and Carter always say, next man up mentality. So at least you'll be able to say,
This will be a
okay,
good
you're going
opportunity to
here,
take
let's
a look
try
at some
you
guys.
here. Not only that, but at least if, say, Nathan Rourke, because if you think about it,
And this
I'm
will
just
be
going to pull
great.
up my calendar here.
This will be great publicity for the CFL. I know that some people may not be a fan of losing their stars and whatnot
So
for
they
this,
said
but
14th.
this is exactly the type of attention that the CFL could use. Is some international attention. Having some of their best guys playing against some guys from the NFL, from some other leagues and whatnot. I think that this is an absolute net positive for the
So
CFL.
looking at this, so realistically, if depending on when the season starts, because this is in 2028, and I know that they're talking about moving the season up. So it would start on a Friday, end on a Sunday. So you're realistically missing the day that or the week that the Olympics start,
Mm-hmm.
the following week, and then depending on if your team plays the week of the closing ceremony. So you're possibly missing 3 games during the
Yeah,
Olympics if you go.
yeah. But all in all, I think that that works fine. On the subject of the American player draft, we have landed on sticking with negotiation lists, but we'll continue discussions with on a U.S. draft. So, just some potential changes of kind of separating the U.S. and Canadian draft. That's fine, whatever. I don't really have much of an opinion on it. I'm not gonna lie.
So there was
Um,
a thing where the proposal was for a 10 round draft. Feedback was a lot of resources go to the Canadian Global Draft, which means, so if you have, let's say, for example, I don't know, a scouting group of 8 people, you have so many go for Canada prospects, so many that go for the global prospects. You're paying these people to go and scout. If you can only have so many people on your staff, you do not have enough money or enough staff to go out and scout an American league for a 10-player draft. So they said ultimately on a cost benefit basis, it would currently does not make sense. So that's why they're sticking with the negotiations list.
yeah, I'm fine with this. In general, I don't think the focus needs to be as much on separating the U.S. Canadian draft. I think the bigger focus has to be making that draft more accessible. Have it on TSN. Like it needs to be a bigger deal than it is right now. And that certainly sounds like something based on what I watched when I was watching that press conference that Stuart Johnson agrees with that. They're not exactly sure on how they want to do that, but making the CFL draft a bigger deal in terms of being able to get actual viewership of it, all that sort of stuff is something that they're very much open to. On uniform branding, the back of the jersey patch is staying to help drive revenue for the teams in the league. So if you guys remember, so those who didn't like the mobile ad in the playoffs on the back of the jersey, you better get your ass better get used to it because it's not going anywhere. I'm fine with this. As to be honest, you know what it was. I noticed it. I'm like, huh, they're doing ads. Anyway, back to the game. Like, I'm going to be
As
honest.
long as
I saw it. I noticed it. I will say, I do think that they should do kind of because the back ads are a little bit larger. I really hope that they do what they did in the playoffs where the ads were somewhat tailored to the jersey to kind of match the color somewhat. If they do that, that would be great. If not, it is what it is. But I think some level of color match would be nice there. But at the end of the day, the CFL needs to be a profitable league. I have no problem with them adding a little ad on the back of the jersey and making a little extra money from it.
So I'm fine with each team having an ad on the front
Well,
and
teams
the ad
already
on the back.
have ads in the
No,
front.
that's what I'm saying. I'm fine with that.
Yeah.
As long as we don't end up like European hockey,
Oh
where you have
God.
freaking
Oh
ads all
oh
over the
God.
jerseys, then that's where I draw the
Yeah,
freaking
no,
line.
like if as long as our football players don't look like fucking Post Malone, I'm fine with that. You know what I mean? But the second like they're just like covered in this shit, then I have an issue. But an ad on the back, I didn't think it was problematic in playoffs. I'll put it this way, Rick: was any of the games less entertaining? Was it distracting? Were you
I mean,
less
not really.
focused on the game? No, no. So I
I'm
don't.
curious to see how many people went to go get mobile friggin' phone plans afterwards.
I'm gonna be honest. It's not. I don't. Well, mobile. I don't think is a.
Is
I
it
don't think it's.
T-Mobile?
No. It's just mobile, like MOBIL. That's a gas station. That's not.
Oh,
That's not like mobile, like as in like mobile phone. Mobile as in like moving like vehicles. Like it's mobile. You know what I mean? Like I think that's a gas
oh,
station. Yeah. No.
yeah.
But anyways, I'm gonna be honest. I don't give a shit what business they get. I just want the CFL to get the money. That's all I
Hey,
want.
listen. As long as I will be frank. As long as I do not see that stupid grocery store from out west on the back of the jerseys, I'm
If
perfectly
Save
fine.
On Foods goes in the back of the jersey, we're going on strike. I hope you know it. Save on, savers. Fuck off. Expansion. It has not been a topic.
Um,
It has not been a topic. Have been motivated. Oh boy. Ugh. Rick, you warned me that there were
again,
going
I
to be some
copied this,
grim.
so okay. While you
You.
fix that, I'm just gonna
I'm not
mention
gonna. I'm not.
something.
I'm not gonna. Okay. Go for it.
Okay. So player compensation, weather delays, free agent communication window, and improving the free agent process each year is to be discussed.
So, are they discussing that in the next few days? In the next week? Like, when are
No,
we
no,
gonna?
no. So I want like
Like, when are we gonna
they
actually know some
probably
results from that?
started discussions and then they're gonna
Ah. Okay. So my
follow up with
guess.
it, like
My
continue
guess is.
discussions about it.
You know what it probably was? They probably had enough time. They probably had scheduled it that they were going to talk about it this time, but then they got through everything else and realized, wow, we only have a little bit left. So they probably started talking about it, and we're
Yeah.
going to have to wait a little longer on that, which kind of sucks. As to be honest, um, player
Just
compensation was the number one thing I wanted to learn about, but we're going to have to wait a little bit longer in that regard.
just FYI, Carter, like I told you, I copied and pasted. I copied and pasted these from Twitter. So the grammar on this is
Yeah,
not my problem.
yeah, no, the grammar on this is
So
terrible. Where was the thing that I was about to read off that had bad grammar? I can't even see it on
the
here
next
anymore.
one down. This one.
Is Yeah, is not being a topic. So a one thing that they haven't really discussed much is regarding expansion. Um, as it looks like the CFL is focused on stadium issues. So this is in two parts. Um, which firstly, it sounds like they're alluding to existing stadium problems. So when I hear that, I think two teams. I think Calgary. I think Montreal. That's your stadium problems right now. If we're talking about existing teams, but then I also think the other side of that is, again, I still think they're interested in that Halifax team, the Atlantic
So
Schooners, the team that they're wanting. I think the other side of that is because there's no stadium there, although there is a proposal for a building or something
so
like that.
so this hence why I posted the article link in that document there,
Okay,
so
let
you
me
can
take a
go
look at
read
this.
it. So basically, the who is this? So City Council Trish Purdy basically said if you're gonna build a stadium, a permanent stadium in Halifax at the Wanderers ground, you best be considering a CFL stadium size as well, so that you can put two teams in there. If not, she says, seating count and the length of the field, it ought to be accessible for CFL if we're going to do a stadium. If we do a stadium, the CFL is not even an option, then to me, that's just wrong. So
And
she's
where are
saying,
you seeing
if,
this? I clicked the link there and I
um,
don't see.
okay, keep on going down.
I
You'll start to see
see.
on the left hand side,
Oh, okay, there we
Halifax is
go.
currently, yeah. So they're basically saying that if we're going to build a stadium in Halifax, let's build one for both CPL soccer and CFL football.
Yes,
Then
absolutely.
then you
Absolutely.
have the people of Quebec, aka Laval, a Rouge, a Or,
Yeah.
that says, oh, because we have university football in here. It's not going to work for the CFL. There's not going to be a good
Although,
stadium. We're not going to share
although
ours.
who's saying this though? To be fair,
Like,
Laval Rouge is saying this, right?
yeah, yeah. Like,
Well,
that's
you know
just
why they're
my
saying this?
interpretation of that Quebec
Oh,
City
I know, but you know
section
why
there.
they're saying this. The reason they're saying this is because not that a CFL team wouldn't work in Quebec City, it absolutely would. I think they view a CFL team in Quebec City as a threat to their own business, which is why they are very hesitant in the sense of I think that they know if there's a CFL team in Quebec City, I think you see attendance drop at Laval Rouge. Which I don't want attendance to drop at Laval Rouge, but also I'm focused on the CFL first. But U Sports is very important, which is why I think the CFL doing some work with U Sports would be good. But the main thing here is Halifax. So it's good to see that actually that Halifax
So he
is
said
very
he was
much
like,
on board with the idea of a CFL team in the sense of the idea that they're saying, well, if this stadium's going to get built, it's got to be built big enough for a CFL team to be possible. In my opinion, if that is the case, that stadium should be no less than 25,000. I know there are current CFL stadiums that are not that big, but in my opinion, I think 25,000 is enough that you could have your expensive seats along with your cheap seats. And it also works well because like that extra 5K makes a big difference. You know what I mean?
yeah.
And so I think that's probably the capacity that a team in Halifax should be aiming for.
So Stuart Johnson is hoping for a 10th team by 2030. So we're talking 4
Hoping
years.
to be fair
Would
to Stuart
love a
here,
10th team by
he did
2030.
not say 2030. One of the reporters said 2030, and Stuart was like, he's like, man, you're really trying to corner me here. 2030 would be nice in the sense of he's not guaranteeing anything here about the CFL actually pushing for a team by 2030. He's just saying if the CFL had a team in the next 5 years, it'd be nice. You know what I mean? So I would not get hung up on that 2030 date. That was kind of words
Oh, I'm
put
not
in
worried
his.
about it. If it
Oh, I
when
know.
it happens, when it happens.
I'm just saying for those who did not watch the presser, that was not words that were his idea. That was someone else kind of putting words in his mouth, and he kind of was like somewhat
AKA
okay
three
with
down.
it, some of what not. But you know what I'm saying.
Yeah.
That he was getting pushed on that. Another thing, average time spent in the replay center. A time limit was not necessarily proposed, but they said that they want the officials on the field driving the game, making the calls, and then the replay center to interject when it is clear and obviously a mistake. In terms of game length, they're currently at around 2 hours, 50 minutes. They want to kind of stay around that number, but the big goal is just staying under 3. We lost Rick.
I see a
Hello,
black
Rick.
screen.
Can you hear me?
I see a black screen. I see a black screen.
Oh shoot. Uh. Um. Oh my God. You're right, Rick. We're
Did you
still
hear me the
recording.
whole entire time?
I heard you part. So what happened is you were joining and I was hitting the generate at the same time. So I would have to send you a new thing. So you join and you're like, I see a black screen, I see a black, but it's totally going through. So I can.
And then I'm like, oh, I've been kicked to the curb like yesterday's trash. So, anyways, you were saying?
We're keeping that in the video, but
Oh, that's fine.
another thing is, I was just saying that their goal is to keep the games under 3 hours. They want to keep that. They don't want to go
So
over,
you
above
made it
3.
to that point. Okay. Yeah,
Which again, I
apparently-
think the only instance they'd really go over is overtime, but that's fine
Yeah, because you got to remember,
because ties are lame.
for the NFL and NCAA, you have the play clock longer, and you have an extra down per possession. So their games are always over 3 hours long.
Yeah, but yeah, no, that's true. Another thing that was discussed is in regards to teams that play in U Sports stadiums. They really didn't get anywhere with this. They just said that they've talked with U Sports
Ongoing
about it.
conversations.
Ongoing conversations. So no update there. Player
So
transparency.
This one here, here's my understanding is how I understand this.
This is regarding player transparency on injuries. Oh, we.
Yeah, so it says here, it was a topic that we collectively needed to do better. We need to be as accurate as possible, and there is a demand from fan base to understand who is in the starting lineup. So, just to be clear on this, and this is my own thinking, so the league already has injury reports that come out 3 times a week. Then you have the depth charts. My thing is, on the injury reports, it's not the players that are out or available. It's ones that are doubtful and questionable. Is they playing? Yes or no? That's my understanding of that whole transparency.
Yeah, I was about to say what I think is going to happen is in the past we've seen at times game time decisions. I think we're going to start seeing that be a thing in the sense of I think the league might be stepping in here and saying, listen, if you don't know by the day before, you either put him on there and you pray to God he plays, or you put him, or you don't put him on there and somebody else. Like in the sense of
So I would say
I think well, even on the depth charts it'll say GTD.
No. But what I'm saying
I think
is
we might see an elimination of that.
No, what I'm saying is you said the day before, and the day before is always depth chart days where the depth charts come out.
Yeah, no, I'm saying is that I think we might get more clarity. I think the idea of game time decisions will be removed in the sense of I think the CFL might say, is he playing or is he not playing? We need to know. Which I'm iffy about. To be honest, I actually didn't really. It says that there's a demand from the fan base to understand who's in the starting lineup. I'm fine with the current system. I'll put it this way. I'd have a problem if it was like the NHL where they're like, it's an upper body injury. It's a lower body injury. It's like, that doesn't tell me fucking anything. Is it his elbow? Is it his stomach? Like,
so here's the thing. It's not that. It's the more of Vegas, betting, fantasy. People want to know, are people playing? Yes or no? And that's why the demand from the fan base is
that actually makes a lot of sense. See, this is what happens because I don't gamble. So this is why I'm not aware of this. Fair enough. New rules and committee. CFL viewed the new rules as structural versus the committee, which is tasked with the implementation. No pushback this week, but lots of discussion on training and ensuring everyone is on the same page. So essentially they're saying all the rules that were announced, the changes, there has been no plans to get rid of that. So I know there's been a big save the 55 movement. There is no indicator that they are saving the 55. The schedule that they put out there about what's happening in 2026 and 2027 is going to continue as planned. Next one. 2027 changes and coach and GM uncertainty. The changes announced in September were passed by the board. That is our focus moving forward, but we continue discussions with groups in the football community, and I look forward to continuing those. What the hell does that even mean, Rick? I'm not going to
lie. Okay, so it's basically... So all the rules. So basically, I don't know if you were, reading the T's and dotting the I's and reading in between the lines, but earlier in the week, I know Mike O'Shea was one of them. I can't remember if it was Dave Dickinson. There was another coach or GM or something that says the data that the league has about these changes is not accurate, and we have done our homework, and we're going to go to bat for all of these changes.
My thing is, the other. My opinion regarding the data, this is just from what I've seen. So the CFL has this data, because that kind of gets into our next point. The projected data, if 60 touchdowns doesn't happen in year one, I wouldn't take a 1 year sample as the example. Even if we hit 75 more touchdowns in year one, coaches and teams need time to adjust. So this idea that with all the changes, this is in regards to the 2027 changes, just to be clear, that with the changes to the field dimensions, all this and that, they're going to get an extra 60 touchdowns a year. To which one of the reporters is like, how the hell are you doing that? You're shrinking the end zone from 20 to 15 yards. Now, I will say, to be fair, that is one aspect. They are also moving the goalpost to the back, which means that the center of the end zone is going to be a lot more clear for passing plays than it has in the past. Not that teams wouldn't ever go for it before, but there was definitely like evidence to show that teams were a lot more wary, and so touchdowns on the corners of the end zone were a lot more popular than it was through the center, as the ones through the center were predominantly like under center runs. You know what I mean? As opposed to passing plays. So with that, they're moving the uprights to the back of the end zone. They're shrinking the field by 10 yards in terms of the main field. And then the end zones are being shrunk from 20 yards to 15. I have no idea where the hell they're getting. They keep making these, that there's this data. I would love if they would release an Excel spreadsheet, but I would not say that's going to happen.
2 points. That's why there's 2 points underneath it.
Because it says that dead play balls, missed field goals back of the end zone, ball will stay at the 40-yard line.
And then also the projected data about the touchdowns.
Oh, yeah, no, that was what I already said. Yeah, no, that's...
Oh, okay.
That's not... I'm not going to lie. You know what my thing is? I don't see there being a big difference. I don't think it's going to make it worse.
Oh, when was it?
Like the one reporter was suggesting. It might make it slightly better. I don't know. I'm curious. I'm skeptical about the data, but I'm not outright dismissive.
Okay, I'm trying to think. I think it was because this is since I've been a season ticket holder since 2019. I remember that there was some changes that were made, and then it caused more offense. And I can't remember what year it was. And then the defense had to reevaluate.
Yeah, I'm not.
The changes. Yeah,
I'm not sure
what it is.
There's this big idea. The CFL they want more touchdowns, so we'll see if that actually.
They figure
happens.
it's gonna bring up more engagement with the fans.
But we'll get to this actually, this next part, because this is a little bit interesting.
Okay.
Canadian draft format and fan engagement. We want to make every aspect of our league as entertaining as possible. We ran through a number of ideas related to the draft. No report, but discussions are being had. This is good. Draft right now kind of sucks. Not in terms of like players getting drafted, but in terms of the NFL draft or the NHL draft. It's an event. People tune in. Teams, especially if your team didn't do so well, and you're high and you're thinking like, oh, who are we going to get? Who are we going to get? Like, there's this event to it. The CFL draft, Rick watches it. I've been told other people watch it.
Yes, sir.
I don't really know where to watch. Like, there's not really a good way to access it. They need to improve that. I'm glad to see
I have a question to run by you.
Yep.
Call me crazy. I don't know I'm sure fans would be all for this. So, because the first, I want to say 2 or 3 rounds, it's 5 minutes in between each pick. And then after that, I think it's like 2 minutes or between like rounds 4 to 8. So, CFL does the draft in 1 day. What do you think of the whole idea of incorporating a bit of NHL and NFL into the whole thing and having it at an arena and an in-person draft?
Firstly, unfortunately, the NHL is moving to the more like the bubble like the virtual ones, but you're talking the classic NHL draft in the arena. Yes. Firstly, I don't think you could do an arena. I think that would be a little bit too large. However, I'd say you don't need to do an arena, but I think you could do an event center. I think you could do an auditorium, even like a smaller event, but I think some sort of actual venue where fans can show up. That's the main point. You know what I mean? I think that would be a fantastic idea. I think that's a great idea. I think doing that
come up on stage,
and it should be on TSN. It should absolutely be on TSN. And I know, like, some people were talking about the ideas of the CFL having other broadcast partners, maybe Sportsnet, maybe whatever.
There's
Whoever gives. I don't care. I just want it on TV. You know what I mean? I want it to be accessible.
there's more details into that as we go down more.
Oh, and that's we'll get to that. Yeah, exactly. So
Yeah.
this is just kind of a more of what we were saying
we already
before.
spoke
Final
about that.
3 minutes. They want to keep the no lead is safe. That's good. RE player safety. We had more games played this season by our starting QBs than in the past, unless you're the fucking Montreal Alouettes. I've been very impressed.
Or Ottawa.
Oh, I would talk it. Well, they had Niles Morgan. Ottawa never got that desperate. I've been very impressed where the league has gone over the last couple of years.
Again, this isn't my wording.
The importance of QB development was discussed, but there are no real tactics to report on. Now, an interesting thing I want to bring up when that came out, because there was I saw a fun Twitter war between Farhan and close, definitely not friend Tommy Stevens of his, where let's just say they got into a little bit of a spat as Farhan. Even Matt Schultz chimed in. Ooh, I didn't see all. Oh, there's a lot here. Okay, fun stuff. So, let me. Oh, I gotta here. You get started on something. I need to find this.
Yeah, I'm gonna get into the next comments while you can go through that. Okay, so there has been a self-imposed deadline, is roughly the start of the season that would be ideal for the new broadcast.
I found it.
They're currently in an exclusive negotiation window with our partners, and we'll see about the best path moving forward.
I just wanted to make that goddamn bank.
So here's the thing. So first off, right now CFL, because TSN has the rights up until the end of the year, CFL is not looking at any other partners right now except for TSN.
Yeah.
So
I'm okay with that, provided that they actually get a good increase from TSN. If TSN is offering anything close to the same deal, which I think there are a few things that need to be mandatory in this next deal with TSN. Do you want to hear what they are?
So firstly, before that, I just want to go over how the figures went up.
Okay.
So, from 2008 to 13, it was 15 million per season, which grew to 43 million from 14 to 18. And then from 18 to now, it was 50 million.
Like every year? Per year?
Per year.
Okay.
And one other thing. In 2025, the ratings for the Grey Cup increased by 12% to 4.02 million. And thanks to the ideal matchup between the Saskatchewan Roughriders and Montreal, in 2024, the regular season broadcast averaged around 450,000. No data reported for the regular season broadcast in 2025.
Yeah. Shall I get into the fun stuff on Twitter?
Oh, what were you going to say about your thoughts on
so this is regarding QB development and whatnot.
No. Before you get into that, you were mentioning about your thoughts about this TV deal.
Oh, yeah. There's two things that they need that TSN is not doing. Firstly, every preseason game should be broadcast on TSN. No more one a week and everything else on CFL Plus. All of them should be on TSN. That every other league has that. There's no having people get the terrible stadium feed. And when I say terrible stadium feed, when I'm like when I was watching Winnipeg versus Saskatchewan, and you could the Saskatchewan guys knew every single bushwhacker on their team that no one had ever heard of. And then they're looking at the Bombers and they're talking and then I heard them be like, what a nice block by Stanley Bryant. And I'm like, oh my God, that guy was white. Holy fuck. Like, guys, this is not even like, we're not even in reality right now. If TSM was doing the proper broadcast and you had an actual broadcast team there and not the stadium feed, you never would have that. Because that was embarrassing to watch. And I'm sure, to be fair, it was probably embarrassing when Winnipeg and Saskatchewan were playing here and they had to listen to our stadium feed in the sense of it just should be a professional broadcast for the preseason. So that should be one of the goals. The other goal is that draft. The draft should be an actual broadcast thing by TSN. Some sort of in-person draft would be nice. Another thing
I mean,
that is worth mentioning, and this is we've talked for years. Me and Rick have talked about how young people need to get into the CFL. How the CFL needs to attract young viewers. That's what it needs. One of the best ways that that TSN has done this with the NHL, with the National Hockey League, is, you know what? You may not like all of them, but the Bar Down group has done very well with the young generation. The Bar Down group within TSN, they operate a lot on their YouTube channel. They do a lot of content, just all sorts of just fun shit. They'll have a beer league game and they'll bring like 30,000 pucks for warm up, and they have like a front end loader like dump it on the just stupid stuff like that. Or they'll do something in collaboration with the NHL, stuff like that, and it's done really really well. I remember, you know, when I was younger, I watched it a lot. There's nothing available like that for the CFL. Nothing. And it's not like they don't know what to do, because they've had hints of doing this. Luca Celebre from the Bar Down group is probably followed out of the entire Bar Down group. He follows the CFL the closest. I don't know if that's entirely like really really close, but he at least follows it to a certain extent.
I've seen that
and
CFL games.
he's done some content with the CFL. For example, he did one with the Ticats where Bo Levi Mitchell threw him a pass blind and hits it, or Mark Leggio hits a big like 50-yard field goal blindfolded. And it was, but like things like that, that's great. The problem was they did it for a week and then didn't do anything else. Bar Down covers the NHL through the entire season in that regard. They do trivia, all this sort of stuff on history. You don't think you have a rich enough history for the CFL? Good God, you have one of the richest histories in North American sports. And so some sort of actual content to engage young viewers of the CFL, in my opinion, is absolutely necessary and is something that the league desperately needs. And so something in-house from TSN would be very good.
So just to follow up with your 2 points, as far as all games on TSN, you have to realize there's going to be a big cost for that. So I don't know if because TSN pays for the rights or whatnot, because now you have to remember, instead of having
I understand there's yeah.
No, I know. I'm not making a discuss. I'm just having a discussion.
Yeah.
So now you got to remember, there's now 1, 2, 8 play by. You got to think of, okay, who are they going to have for play by play for 4 games? Because I know they have enough for probably 3. So they'd have to have 2 play by play people for another one. I don't know what it costs to run a game, so I don't know about that. So that was that point. The other point about the draft, I get that you had mentioned that in person. Don't forget, rounds 1 to 3 is already on TSN. It's more of
but they need to. It needs to be a bigger deal. Like even like what you were saying, like getting in an auditorium, kind of making a bit of a show out of it. How other leagues do it. Something like that would be would be better.
And if you're gonna do that, for the love of God, can we not have it in the middle of the fucking week?
That's no problem. Pick a good time. Pick a good time for it. Something that people can actually.
But then
watch.
They can't have it on weekends, because then you got to battle with friggin' NHL playoffs.
I don't know. Decide to like kick Monday Night Raw's ass for 1 week. I don't know.
Raw's not on TSN anymore.
I know it's on Netflix, but still. But I'm saying at that type of a time slot.
Anyways, so you're going to go back to the whole quarterback thing.
Yes. This is regarding quarterback development and whatnot. And so Farhan, who has some out there takes at times, had one of those today, to which he said, start by eliminating the sneak specialist. I don't want to see guys holding roster spots when we know they'll never be a legit quarterbacks in this league. That hurts development of the next wave of quarterbacks. It's not the only strategy, but it is an easy first step. Which, firstly, how the hell would you do that? How would you enforce that? How would you say, the quarterback sneak? Are you saying no QB sneaks in the CFL? How would you enforce that?
How would you do it? So if you're at anything from a 1 to 3 yard line, you have to have if you're going to rush it for a sneak or anything, You have to have your running back do it, not your quarterback.
That's fucking
That's
stupid.
my.
Like that level of restriction being like, oh, he didn't hand off.
That's just my
Oh,
thought.
I know. But I'm saying is that any rule that you'd have to put to enforce it sounds dumb. There's none that sound good. And you know who agreed with this? Tommy Stevens, who is arguably the best QB sneaker in the CFL. He had a lot to say about it. He said,
did not like it. You mean?
oh, he had a lot to say. I'm saying he
Okay,
had
you said you agree with his comments.
No. I said he had an opinion on this, and we're gonna.
I heard differently.
Oh, okay. Well, if I did say that, then my apologies. What I mean is,
go ahead.
He was interested by this. He said, how many quarterbacks in the league are considered sneak specialists? Since this is somehow hurting four out of, keep in mind, you can think of four. There's 9 teams with like 3 or 4 quarterbacks each, to be fair. But even then, let me just finish here, okay? Since this is somehow hurting the CFL so much, who else would you put the criteria of being kicked out on the league, Farhan? You made your thoughts about me pretty clear, so I'll go ahead and cross that one off for you. He was not happy with this, and actually, he wasn't the only one. If we go to Farhan's Twitter, replies, yada, 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 Matt Schiltz also had something to say, as if we then look at this, after that comment that was made by Farhan about eliminating the sneak specialist, Matt Schiltz said, one of the worst takes I've heard. In a league that needs to promote the talent of its players, this is the opposite. Does that mean short yardage QBs can't play in the league? We talk about developing talent, then saying we need to reduce the position that needs the most development? To which I said, which I'm like, yeah, Matt Schultz kind of has a point here. You know what I mean?
I mean, Farhan, you could still have short yardage quarterbacks and just not.
But there's a whole back and forth. I want to get through this first. You know what I mean?
Okay.
If that's okay. Because then Farhan's like, whoa, who wants to reduce any level of development? If a team has made the determination that a player is never going to do more than be a sneak specialist, I'd prefer to see that roster spot go to a QB they think has a chance to be one day, to one day be that guy. I'm not suggesting they eliminate the third QB spot on a roster. In my opinion, the guy doing the sneaks should be the real number 2, not a number 3 specialist that will only ever do sneaks. If all 9 teams decided their number 3s would only be sneak specialists, that means 9 potential future starters in this, potential future starters. Come on, Farhan.
I mean, he does have a point.
But I'm saying, let's just go through all this, okay?
Yeah.
Will get less of an opportunity to develop, potentially less salary, because they would get a PR spot at best. If even that, I'd prefer to see that QB on the roster getting full pay. Matt Schultz then says, then who does sneaks? Something that is so uniquely Canadian to CFL and something that I think makes the CFL great is the sneak. All of a sudden, we take that away from the specialist. Sometimes the only shot guys get in the league is through sneaks and then turn into all-star QBs. To be fair, Matt Schultz has some point there. That's how Chris Streveler gets to the NFL. You know what I mean? And you can argue whether you think he deserves it or not, whatever. But Chris Streveler went to the NFL through that. So it shows that Matt Schultz does have a point here. Which then Farhan says, why can't the number 2 quarterbacks run sneaks? It gets them on the field. That's how this got started. Because then, but then Farhan's entire argument breaks down here. Because his whole argument is that you have to institute a rule to prevent the QB sneak. But then he's saying why another player shouldn't do the QB sneak instead. And he's not saying a running back. He's saying a QB sneak. You can't have it both ways. It gets them on the field. That's how they get started in the CFL in the 80s when teams didn't want their starters taking the hits. So they put in their backs. I'm not going to lie. This seems like a bit of an old yeller yells at the sun here take, as he's trying to say that what worked in 1980 is working in 2026. I don't know if that's the right move, but if we kind of keep going through here. But those teams believed all those QBs in the building were legitimate throwers who could eventually start. I see the sneak in the NFL, and they never sub in someone to replace their $50 million starters. No one is stopping sneaks from happening. Right now, teams are looking for guys who can specifically sneak only. even if they don't believe in their actual QB potential. How is that good for QB development? I think teams should have their top 3 actual QBs dressing for games. Anything short of that is doing the position a disservice. Matt Schultz then says, what if short yardage QB adds more value? Why can't short yardage QB also be a top 3 QB dressing in the league? Do you actually think that Tommy Stevens was not one of the best 27 QBs the CFL had to offer the last year? Banning short yardage quarterbacks isn't a way to grow the league. So I understand Farhan's point to an here's my take on it, okay? Farhan is saying that if you're going to be a guy doing a QB sneak, there better be more that you can offer, because otherwise there's nothing there. But what Matt Schultz is saying is saying that having guys that can do the QB sneak is good because they can eventually become guys that can be starters. I'll give you a great example right now. Dustin Crum is a great example. All he would do is sneak the ball. That's all he'd do. But then guys went down to injury and they had and they had to go to him. And then we found out what he was made of. And now there's a potential that this guy, when some guys retire, that maybe he finds a starting job somewhere in the CFL. We're talking about this because he got the short yardage opportunity. So the problem with Farhan's logic here is if you want Zach Collaras, if you want Trevor Harris doing the sneak, because that's the thing. He's saying the NFL doesn't pull players off the field and put someone else on to do the sneak. They have the starter do the sneak. If you're doing that, then you're just cycling the same starters and you're never giving the opportunity. By having a QB sneak specialist, a guy like a Tommy Stevens, a guy like a Dustin Crum or whatnot, by having them come on the field, do the sneak, occasionally gives you the opportunity. You might throw a fake. Instead, Dakota Prukop did a great one for the Bombers when he was the sneak specialist for Winnipeg. Guys have that potential to come on the field and maybe make something of it by showing that there's something that they can provide. Sure, maybe you can get a guy that's third string and he can't sneak for shit, but he's got an arm. If he never gets on the field, though, it's pointless. It's worthless. So this is where I think Farhan's argument doesn't go anywhere. Because I think by having someone else doing the sneaking and giving them the opportunity to do that, and then the team being like, okay, well, you know what? Maybe we'll give you another chance in another spot. If you just pass that on to the running back, then all you're doing is that little bit of time that a second or third string QB would get on the field, barring anyone getting actually injured. Obviously, they get on the field in that regard. But assuming everyone stays healthy, the only time second or third string quarterbacks get on is if a team is getting blown out of the water and they decide to just throw their backup on because they want to pull the starter out and keep him healthy, or B, QB sneaks. You're eliminating one of those with Farhan's suggestion.
So here's the problem that I have with this is
are you agreeing with Farhan or are you agreeing with okay.
I'm saying I'm down the middle.
Okay.
I see both sides. So I'm going to use Hamilton as an example.
Fair enough.
So you have Bo Levi Mitchell play all 18 games. Okay.
Okay.
Taylor Powell could have had a bonus in there. You know, you do X, Y, and Z, you know, you'll get this money. Then you have, hold on, I got to think of the Jake Dolegala. Okay. He was our third string this year. So you have Jake Dolegala coming in and doing all of the short yard streaks. And let's say, for example, I don't know, he has a Shea Patterson season where he has 6 rushing touchdowns.
Yep.
Now, if you're Taylor Powell, you're pissed off because Bo Levi Mitchell is playing every game. You're not getting a single rep. But now the third string quarterback's getting all this extra bonus and everything in his contract because he's getting all this other short yardage in that. So I can see where people are getting pissed off that if it's not the second quarterback, it's not fair to them because you have your starter who's playing every game and getting all the reps in games, and you have your third string quarterback that's getting all of the quarterback sneaks and everything for touchdowns and getting bonuses, and then your second string is just standing on the sideline and doing nothing.
To be fair to that, because I understand what you're saying, that depends on how a team manages their personnel. Because I'll give you an example. With Winnipeg, we didn't have our third string running QB sneaks. It was our backup. It was Strevler. He was running. He was the backup for Winnipeg. He was running the sneaks. And the only time he wouldn't is if Caleros was injured, Strevler was playing, in which case Terry Wilson got time. The problem is that Farhan made two suggestions there, which are a bit contradictory, but neither one of them solve your problem, okay? Because right now, your QB1, Bo Levi Mitchell, gets time, and your QB3, Dolagala, gets time on the QB sneak, right?
Yeah.
Under Farhan's suggestion, he made two different suggestions there. One of them was that in the NFL, you don't see a guy swap off, you see the starter do it. Well, now it's just your starter getting time, and it's not your second or your third string. So I'd argue that your development situations got worse because it's only your starter anyway. And maybe it's not fair to the second string, but now it's not fair to the second and the third string. So your problem is at least doubled. You know what I mean? So that negates that. The other suggestion, though, that he made, that he alluded to was this idea that QB sneaks should not even be part of the game, that potentially we should have a rule getting rid of it. Well, now you have the same problem. And now it's not your first, second, or third string do it, it's your fucking running back. So how does either of those actually help QB development? Now, I would say that maybe a team, this has to be a conscious decision by the team. That's the only way to do this. There's no rule that you can put in here. This has to be a team saying, you know what, we're going to let our backup do our sneaks. You know what I mean? And the reality of the situation is there's no good way to enforce it, to police this. You know what I mean? And so in this regard, I would say that I'm more on the camp of Matthew Schultz here as well as Tommy Stevens in the regards that there's no reason to make a change to status quo here. Again, not because I'm, stuck in his ways. It's just that I don't see any version of this that actually makes improvement there, because he made two suggestions and neither one of them gets the second string more time. All it does is it hurts the third string. And I'm not saying that the third string should have it more than the second string. I'm saying what's better for QB development? The third string getting time and the second string not getting time, or neither of them getting any time? You know what I mean? That's my point. However, there's still more to talk about here. We're getting close to the end of this. Do not worry.
Yes.
One of them is about the football operations cap. The topic was raised. They went back and forth. They went back to how teams manage costs and that we operate in a world where the majority of our teams are not profitable. Again, they say this, but I don't I would love to see the numbers, but I know they're probably not going to do that. Because then again, they're also but our coaches are important to the development. So they've talked. They were asking about the idea of removing the cap. There's no way they would remove the cap. I could see them potentially altering this cap, though.
I have a question regarding this. Okay, and I'm just going to use some people out there for example. So let me go to my coaching page so that I can use some names as an example. So let's say, for example, you have a Jordan Younger, who's the defensive coordinator for
your Winnipeg Blue Bombers. Okay. Fuck yeah.
So was this when they say, hold on, let me just, football ops, are they managing teams cost? So I'm assuming football ops is coaches. Or are they talking GMs and scouts? And
I think that's all of that.
Okay. So my theory is, so if you have, say, someone like Jordan Younger, and then you have an up-and-coming, and I'll just use Jason Hogan, two Bombers that you're familiar with. So Jordan Younger was the defensive coordinator. Jason Hogan's coming up, being a young defensive coordinator, getting his licks and everything. You would think that more teams would move on from the older coaches and start bringing up more coaching talent, so that you're not going through all of these caps and you have more space to hire more people, if that makes sense. For example, Ticats. We had 4 people. 4 new coaches last year. I can guarantee you they're not making top bank in the league as coaches. Yeah. More than other people. Toronto this year. Toronto has 3 new coaches. Again, I'm sure they're not making top dollar. That's
Yep.
what I'm saying. So it will be nice to see more. And I'm tired. I'm sure you're just as tired as me as seeing all these coaches be recycled.
Yes and no. I don't really. I'm not gonna lie. I don't have a problem with it. I just like if my coach is good. That's all I care about.
Just as he says that, as Tommy Condell becomes the new offensive coordinator for Winnipeg.
Yeah, we'll have to see. We'll have to see if we get
But
another Grey Cup
my whole
ring or if
point
I decide
is
to shoot myself.
my whole point about the whole thing is it's nice to see other people's ways of doing things than just the same kit and caboodle again.
Yeah.
Like if you have an offensive coordinator that's stuck in his ways that aren't going to change his
Yeah.
style and everything, nothing's going to change. But if
I
you're
do
bringing younger
understand
blood,
though why they recycle them to a certain extent and why they don't look south just because of the systems are different. Coaching
no,
is probably the biggest
I'm
difference.
not even saying like three of our coaches last year came from D2 colleges.
Fair enough.
So I mean, it's not.
But
James Tuck used to be a player in the league.
the big thing is we operate in a world where the majority of our teams are not profitable. They keep saying that, but the thing is that like that's also easy to say, like in the sense of I don't know if that's true. In the sense of if they're really struggling this much, how has the league not gone under? In the sense of they almost present it like a fact that any minute this bomb is going to go off and the CFL will be no more. However, if
But
that were the case, there'd be a lot more panic.
you also have to remember teams like Saskatchewan and
I was about to say Saskatchewan and
uh,
Winnipeg are public
like.
with
But what
their.
I'm saying is, if I'm not correct, do they not take all that extra money and pay it towards the teams that don't make as much?
There
Isn't
is
it like
there is
revenue
there
sharing
there
for
is
the
some
whole
sort of
thing?
revenue sharing. Now they get to keep some of that. They don't have to pay every dime that
No.
they
I get
make.
that.
But there is some sort of revenue
Um,
sharing. So I think what they're saying is not that the league is failing or anything of that regard, but just that there are some franchises that really don't pull their own weight the way that other ones do, and they need to get some leveling on that. I don't see how that has any effect on
I
football
mean, you could
operations, but
you could also include marketing your team better too.
well, that's the number one issue, and I hope that they do some improvement. But let's keep moving.
Sure.
Coaches' comments on rule changes. We have had great discussions, and the data is looking at all of the changes together. It's not just one change. Less field goals will be scored, more touchdowns at the expense of field goals. This is kind of what we were talking about earlier already. Salary cap increase. Last year's announcement was unacceptable. I will say I was very pleased, regardless of the timing, that we recognized revenue growth this year based on our 25 numbers. We're excited that where we're
So
headed. So I think what they're upset about here is because they announced that the salary cap is going up. Teams were getting able to like sign and keep signing bonuses on 1 year's
no,
instead of the
it's
next
no, it
year's.
was no,
What
it's
was it?
not that. It's last year.
Okay.
So what was it? It was 2 or 3, maybe 4 days into free agency last year,
Mm-hmm.
and the league announced that because of the revenue growth, you could either divide the growth between all the players in the league or add it to your salary cap.
Mm.
And what they're saying is the way that they announced it last year, 3 days into free agency, was unacceptable. They want to be able to have it so that before free agent begins in 3-4 weeks, they want the numbers out there so that teams can plan accordingly as to what their salary
More,
numbers are going to look
more,
like
more
with the
planning
revenue
time.
growth.
More planning time. Nope, that's fair. I'm that seems like a responsible way to do business. And then kind of the last point that we have written down here before, there's a few things on 3 down I wanted to discuss. In-game experience. I've been impressed with each team's game day operations. Games have become such social experiences, and fans can be segmented so differently. All of our clubs are adjusting that kind of segmentation for anyone who wants to have a great time at the games. Okay, so that to me is very much connected to the stadium issue. As the modern stadiums in the CFL, and or even not necessarily modern in terms of new, but in terms of the higher class stadiums in the CFL have this, and they have them in droves. Winnipeg has it. Saskatchewan has it. I'd say Hamilton does pretty well. Theirs is newer, I think, just in terms of the game day experience. Whether that's tailgating, whether that's events at the stadium, whether that's the stadium being very modern, there's stuff to do.
I mean, I will say Toronto has a good tailgate.
That's good. Because honestly, well, they have a nice building. Like BMO Field, as much as they've had issues with attendance,
bad. I'm just saying.
Yeah,
I've been to Toronto games tailgating. They have great groups of people that tailgate.
Yeah.
Just the way that they
just need more.
And they do have like their in-game people do a great job and everything.
Yep.
It's just Toronto could win five years of championships in a row. Whatever their success on the stadium does not get butts in seats.
Yeah, there needs to be more happening there, and this goes down to the marketing thing. And this is not us speaking ill of Toronto at all. This is actually us wanting to see more there, as there's a lot they are doing right, but they need just a bit more things, a bit more of their ducks in an order. If you look at even at BC, what they've been doing, and especially what they have planned for Kelowna, and how they're gonna really try to grow the CFL there. Like, that's fantastic. You know what I mean? That type of stuff, the game day events. What? What are you laughing about? What's funny with that?
Okay. Can you go look up?
Oh, okay. I thought you were laughing at what I was saying. I said, I don't think I'm saying anything that bad.
Can you look on your phone on Twitter and go to Greg on Sports?
And go to what, sorry?
Greg on Sports.
Oh, God. What am I about to see?
Look at the screen.
I can't. Oh, God. Is that Tommy Stevens versus... I'm reposting that. That's great. But anyways,
Mortal Kombat. I just thought that was funny. You were saying stuff about 3 Down Nation?
Yeah, but anyways, I think they need to continue that. Because remember how they said that all the team hold on a second. The topic was raised when we went back on how teams manage costs, and that we operate in a world where the majority of our teams are not profitable. Introducing an article by John Hodge. CFL Commissioner Stuart Johnson happy with revenue, expects 2026 salary cap soon. So, like, though the increase considered positive sign for all league stakeholders, it was also announced at a disastrous time. This regarding the salary cap increase. But it sounds like the league is pretty happy with I was pleased with the fact that we could recognize revenue growth to that extent over last year. So the league is doing well in terms of revenue, in terms of the trend. They just need that to continue. Another one that was written by J.C. Abbott. This was yesterday, this was today. Denies pushback on the structural rule changes. So again, this is just them saying they won't consider reconsider the changes, like the 55-yard line, all that sort of stuff.
There was another thing that they had on their website was Justin Dunk talking about how there could be potentially change to long term of the playoffs.
Yeah, I'm okay. I'm okay with that. I'm curious.
When that wasn't in the list. So I'm like,
Well, I think they're focusing on some other stuff right now, but maybe they'll. So, we'll see. I think that's pretty much all we got. Is there anything else that you got, Rick? We're over an hour here, and there was a lot that we discussed. No. It's funny. I was like, wow, man, Rick, this might be 20-25 minutes. Over an hour long. But I think there's a lot that we discussed.
This later on in the evening.
Well, and I think And I think that I think there was a lot of good stuff that we had there. So thank you guys so much for tuning in. Make sure you guys leave a like, share it around, and subscribe if you haven't already. Also, if you guys haven't, make sure you guys join our Discord. Link in the description below to our Discord, where we discuss all things CFL, NHL, all sorts of sports stuff. So make sure you guys go there and keep the conversation going. Thank you guys so much for tuning into this video. Peace, love, and positivity to all you wonderful people at home. We will see you guys next time.